of the catchment. I suppose maybe the Ayr catchment perhaps have more businesses which, because of the type of farming they're doing, might be a bit more resilient. But that's quite a step away from saying that the catchment is less resilient to climate change than it was. I think it's just a feature of the businesses that type of catchment can support.
Okay, I'll
So
take that one out.
There probably is less habitat provision. I don't know if there's less recreation.
No, take that out. It could just be, if water gets polluted so much that perhaps people...
There's still quite a lot of people that fish.
Yeah.
Reduced aesthetics. I don't think there's a reduction in the aesthetic value of it.
Any other ones you can think of? Any other issues in the catchment?
Where does greater regulation and bureaucracy come into it? So there'll be farmers in the catchment that will say, oh well, in the past I would have been able to do X, Y and Z to try and improve things. So for instance, doing a little bit of works in the banks in order to prevent erosion, and now they're not allowed to do that without a licence, and whether they can get a licence and there's a cost and so on. So that is something that is different than it was in the past, but I don't know whether that is
This is kind of how the ecosystem has been impacted, but I think if we can keep that in mind, we can talk about that a bit in the last part of the survey, because I think that's really interesting. Could you attempt to rank these by which ones you think are kind of most significant?
Most significant.
I mean, these ones you were saying you're not... Should we take them out or put the...
I would take the water treatment cost out, because I don't think that's directly related to the catchment itself. In what time scale are these across? So, for instance, reduced habitat provision, it will have reduced over time, but at what time scale?
I suppose if you think it recently has been improving again and is well managed, then I suppose then it would just go down in your significance. So whereas things that you think are still significant issues,
I would put flood risk at the top, actually. And then I would probably put the rest of them, I think the rest of them are quite closely linked, and I would put them somewhere around the middle in quite a tight group. I'm not quite sure in which order.
Just see that. Okay, and then so for this last bit, these are, again, if we could take it section by section, these are just a list of different things that put in place to reduce pollution. If you could rank them by which ones you think are most important, and then we'll...
Important or successful?
Which are most successful, most important for reducing pollution, so which are most successful at reducing pollution, and then if you could list any other ones that come under these.
I'd probably put SUDS near the bottom. Because if it's about pollution and rather than about flooding and so on, SUDS I suppose is nearer the bottom. I'd probably put points pollution licensing quite near the top. And then I'd put GBRs close behind it. In fact, I might put GBRs on the same line as point pollution licensing.
Like that?
Yep.
Is there any other things in particular for the other you can think of that doesn't come under those?
Those are very much stick rather than carrot. I would probably add financial support for mitigating measures.
So which ones in particular do you know
Water margin fencing and slurry storage in that catchment, I would say.
Has that been taken up? Farmers?
Yeah, no, it has.
Mm-hmm.
It's been successful. The funding has fallen away to quite a great extent for that now, though. But there was 5 years ago. There was a lot of fencing, water, and slurry storage went in.
Where would you slot that in terms of?
I would probably put that in above nutrient management, actually. I think that what you find is on the air that in relative terms it'll be relatively extensively managed in terms of nutrients compared to some places, and where it's the application of nutrients causing problems is more likely to be because of a lack of storage facilities for slurries rather than because the farmer really wants to apply too much at the wrong time of year in the rain.
Okay.
So I think that nutrient management is a fairly minor issue. The real thing is the infrastructure on the farms and the catchment means that nutrient management becomes a problem. It's nutrient management stroke waste disposal, and there's very much a drive on farms to get the stuff away as waste disposal rather than nutrient management. So I would probably leave a bit of a gap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that because the farmers wouldn't have enough land to apply their own slurries? How do they then sell it off?
No, it's because if they are applying the slurries in the months when the grass is, we'll say grass because the majority of the catchment will be in grass. If they apply it in the months when the grass is actively growing and in good ground conditions, they will get the benefit of the nutrients. But if they don't have 6 months slurry storage and they need to go out and spread slurry in January or through the winter months, that will increase that has a big impact. And it's not that it's nutrient management sounds to me like they are applying the material for the purposes of giving the crop nutrients incorrectly, whereas in reality they are applying the material to try and get rid of material which is a waste. So I think the two are almost interchangeable, but where there isn't enough slurry storage, it's definitely the former. It's not that they're applying too much fertiliser because they're particularly intensive, or it's lack of education about when they should. It's driven by largely the necessity of getting slurry sprayed.
Yeah, that's interesting. So then that kind of means that in that case education is not as important as of financial support for.
Yeah, you need the education. Well, you need the education so I'd probably put education on the same line as financial support, because you want the education to draw attention to the benefits of making the investment. The financial support's normally 100%, so you need to educate the farmer as to why their contribution is worthwhile.
Yeah.
And raise awareness of the availability of financial support. But there's been great improvements within the Ayr catchment in terms of slurry storage, driven by SRDP grants for slurry storage grants and water margin fencing. Not everybody has done it, but it would be quite a significant number of slurry stores have gone into that area.
Okay, that's great. So the next section is kind of more general things that could be done to restore the river, and let me know if there's any that you're not quite sure what I mean by them, and if you could rank them again by, might be more difficult to say which are actually being done on the Ayr and being successful, but maybe which ones you think might be helpful, if there's any other ones that you'd want to add, or if there's any of those you want to take out.